Through the darkness of space, Captain Ta-1 stood on the bridge of his feared pirate vessel, the Shadow Claw. His tall frame cast a shadow across the dimly lit command center as he studied the holographic display before him. The merchant ship they'd spotted was moving slowly, its engines barely pushing it through the void. Jai-Ho, his loyal second-in-command, worked quickly at his station, fingers dancing across the control panel as he analyzed their potential prey. The merchant vessel's heat signature was exactly what they'd expect from a civilian craft: weak reactor output, minimal shield generation, and only the most basic point defense weapons. Perfect, Ta-1 muttered, a smile spreading across his weathered face. Run another scan. I want to be certain. The Shadow Claw's advanced sensors, stolen from a military outpost years ago, painted a detailed picture of their target. The merchant ship was a standard Earth-built Horizon-class transport, the kind used by independent traders throughout the sector. Its hull showed signs of wear, and its registration numbers were clearly visible, marking it as a private vessel rather than part of any corporate fleet. Confirmed, Captain, Jai-Ho reported, his voice carrying the excitement of an easy victory. Their cargo hold is nearly full. Looks like processed minerals from the outer colonies. No military escort in range, and their crew complement is minimal. Maybe 5 or 6 people at most. Ta-1 moved closer to the main viewport, watching as the distance between their ships gradually decreased. The Shadow Claw's dark hull and stealth systems made them nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. Years of successful raids had earned them a fearsome reputation, but it had also taught them caution. What about emergency beacons, response times from the nearest patrol? Ta-1 asked, maintaining his professional demeanor despite the promise of easy riches. Jai-Ho checked his readings again. Nearest patrol is 3 hours out at best speed. We're well outside the regular shipping lanes. They'd probably think it's safer out here, away from the pirates who hunt the main routes. He chuckled at the irony. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, each member knowing their role in the coming raid. They had done this dozens of times before. Approach under stealth, disable the target's engines, board with overwhelming force, and disappear with the cargo before help could arrive. Their course? Ta-1 asked, already planning the intercept. They're heading toward the mining colonies in the outer rim. Standard trade route, but they're running way off the usual path, probably trying to avoid the toll stations. Jai-Ho zoomed in on the ship's projected course. We can catch them just past the asteroid field ahead. The rocks will mask our approach and block any distress signals. Ta-1 nodded in approval. The target couldn't have been more perfect if they had arranged it themselves. The lone ship, valuable cargo, minimal defenses, and no help nearby. These were the opportunities that had made the Shadow Claw's crew wealthy and feared throughout the sector. Begin approach pattern, he ordered, settling into his command chair. Keep our emissions low. I don't want them to have any warning until it's too late. The Shadow Claw's engines hummed quietly as they changed course, using the asteroid field for cover. Their target continued its journey, completely unaware of the danger closing in. The crew's anticipation was palpable. Even routine raids brought the thrill of combat and the promise of profit. Weapons standing by, reported the gunnery officer. Shield disruptors charged and ready. Boarding teams on standby in the launch bays, added another crew member. Ta-1 watched the distance counter tick down. In less than an hour, they would spring their trap, disable the merchant ship, and claim their prize. It would be a good day's work, the kind that had built their reputation as successful pirates. Look at that, Captain, Jai-Ho said, pointing to the latest scan results. No escort, minimal weapons. We'll be rich by sunset. Indeed we will, Ta-1 replied, his confident smile masking the nagging feeling that things were going almost too perfectly. But he pushed the thought aside. After all, sometimes the easiest targets were exactly what they appeared to be: helpless prey waiting to be taken. The Shadow Claw continued its silent approach through the asteroid field, like a predator stalking its prey. Soon, they would add another successful raid to their long list of victories, or so they thought, as they moved ever closer to the seemingly defenseless Earth merchant ship that waited ahead. The Shadow Claw emerged from the asteroid field like a phantom, its dark hull gleaming against the starlit void. Captain Tadwan straightened in his command chair, savoring the moment as his ship bore down on their unsuspecting prey. "Open a channel," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless successful raids. The communications officer complied, and Taiwan's voice boomed across space to their target. "Merchant vessel, this is your only warning. Power down your engines and surrender your cargo. Resist, and we will show no mercy." The response was exactly what they expected, panicked and confused. The merchant ship's engines flared erratically as it attempted to turn away, its movements lacking any hint of military precision. The maneuver was so clumsy that several of Taiwan's bridge crew chuckled at the display. But aboard the supposed merchant vessel, Commander He Jin watched the pirates approach with carefully hidden satisfaction. Her ship, disguised as a civilian transport, was anything but helpless. Behind her calm exterior, she noted how perfectly the pirates were falling into position. "Maintain our current act," she murmured to her executive officer, Kyung Mei, who was expertly piloting their ship to appear untrained and frightened. "Let them think they're hurting us exactly where they want us." The pirate vessel grew larger in their view screen, its weapons clearly primed and ready. Two smaller ships emerged from its hangar bay, taking up flanking positions. It was a standard pirate tactic: surround the prey, cut off all escape routes, and force a surrender. "Please, we're just traders," Kyung Mi transmitted back, her voice wavering with perfectly feigned fear. "We don't want any trouble." He-Jin allowed herself a small smile as she watched their tactical display. The pirates were moving into a classic attack formation, positioning themselves to disable the merchant ship's engines with precise shots. They had performed this maneuver countless times before, but never against a target quite like this one. "They're launching boarding shuttles," reported Lieutenant Min Su from his station, maintaining the act even though every crew member knew exactly what was happening. The elite forces training showed in their discipline. Not a single person broke character. The pirate captain's voice came through again, dripping with false sympathy. "Power down your engines now, and we promise your crew will not be harmed. Continue to resist, and we cannot guarantee your safety." He-Jin checked the tactical display one final time. The pirates had positioned themselves exactly as predicted. Their main ship at the perfect angle to prevent escape, their support vessels creating a kill box they thought would trap their prey. They had no idea they were the ones being trapped. "Continue evasive maneuvers," He-Jin ordered. Watching this, Kyung Mi executed another seemingly panicked turn. "Make it look good, but keep them thinking we're helpless." Through the view screen, she could see the pirates growing more confident with each passing moment. Their boarding shuttles were moving into position, their weapons charged but not yet firing. They wanted the cargo intact after all. "Please," Kyung Mi transmitted again, her voice shaking. "We'll give you anything you want. Just don't hurt us." The response was immediate, exactly what He-Jin had been waiting for. "Power down now, and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." He-Jin watched as the final pieces fell into place. The pirates had committed fully to their attack pattern, confident in their superiority. Their sensors would be focused on the merchant ship's engines and weapons, looking for any signs of resistance. They wouldn't be scanning for the other systems, the ones carefully hidden behind sophisticated military camouflage. "Time to weapons range," He-Jin asked quietly. 30 seconds, Kyung Mi replied, still maintaining their clumsy evasion pattern. "They're exactly where we want them." The pirates continued to close in, unaware that their perfect target was anything but helpless. Their confidence would be their undoing, their standard tactics about to be turned against them by the elite military force they had mistaken for easy prey. Hajin settled back in her command chair, watching as the final moments of the trap approached. Soon, the pirates would learn the costly lesson of making assumptions in space. But for now, she maintained her silence, letting them believe they were in control of the situation. The truth would become apparent soon enough. Jiho's first hint that something was terribly wrong came when his communications panel suddenly went dark. Not just quiet, completely dead. He tapped the controls rapidly, trying to restore the connection, but the system remained silent. "Captain," he called out, unable to keep the concern from his voice. "Something's wrong. We've lost all communications." Taiwan turned sharply in his command chair, his expression darkening. "All channels. Everything. Even our internal ship communications are being jammed." Jiho's fingers flew across his console, trying to break through the interference. This isn't normal civilian equipment. The jamming pattern is military grade. Before Taiwan could respond, the supposedly helpless merchant ship's movements changed dramatically. Gone were the clumsy evasive maneuvers. Instead, the vessel executed a perfect barrel roll, bringing its hull to bear against the Shadow Claw's exposed flank. The movement was so smooth, so precise, that it could only have been performed by an expert military pilot. "Impossible," Taiwan muttered, rising from his chair. "No merchant crew can fly like that." Lieutenant Du Yun's voice cut through the growing tension on the bridge. "Captain, their energy signature, it's changing." His hand shook as he read the sensor displays. "The civilian power readings are disappearing. I'm detecting multiple high-energy signatures, military-grade power cores coming online." The merchant ship's hull seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot metal. Sections of its outer plating began to shift and transform, revealing sleek weapon ports that had been perfectly concealed beneath the civilian disguise. "Battle stations," Taiwan shouted, but it was already too late. Their target had positioned itself perfectly during its transformation, catching the Shadow Claw and its support vessels in a kill zone of their own making. Du Yun's voice rose in panic as new readings flooded his screen. "Captain, they're not just armed. Those are prototype weapons. Energy readings are off the scale." The bridge crew watched in horror as their sensor readings revealed the true nature of their prey. The civilian transport's power signature had been a mask, hiding the devastating military hardware beneath. Now that mask was falling away, revealing a warship that outclassed their pirate vessel in every way. "Get us out of here," Taiwan ordered, but even as he spoke, their engines sputtered and died. Somehow, during the chaos of the transformation, their target had managed to slip a computer virus into their systems. "Engineering reports complete system failure," Jiho announced, his face pale. "We're dead in space." The former merchant ship now hung before them like a predator about to strike. Its weapon ports glowed with barely contained energy, and its hull gleamed with the unmistakable sheen of military-grade armor plating. Du Yun's hands flew across his console, trying to make sense of the readings. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple targeting locks. They could have destroyed us at any time during their approach. They were just playing with us." The realization hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. They hadn't been hunting prey. They had been lured into a trap. Every move they had made, every tactical decision, had been anticipated and countered before they even made it. "Launch the escape pods," Taiwan ordered quietly, knowing their situation was hopeless. But before anyone could move, even the pod launch controls went dark. Through the view screen, they watched as their support vessels tried to flee, only to find themselves caught in invisible tractor beams. The mighty Shadow Claw, terror of the shipping lanes, hung helpless in space as its prey revealed itself to be the hunter. Jiho looked at his captain, his voice barely a whisper. "What are they?" Before Taiwan could answer, a new signal cut through the jamming. Clear, powerful, and carrying the unmistakable authority of Earth's military command. They were about to find out exactly what kind of trap they had walked into and why you should never judge a ship by its cover. A crisp, authoritative voice cut through the silence on the Shadow Claw's bridge. This is Commander He-Jin of Earth Special Space Operations. You've just intercepted a military vessel. The words fell like hammer blows in the stunned quiet. The final transformation of the merchant ship was happening before their eyes. Layer by layer, the civilian facade peeled away. Hull plates slid back with mechanical precision, revealing rows of gleaming weapon ports. Each one held the latest in Earth military technology, all aimed directly at the pirate vessel. Taiwan's face drained of color as the ship's true markings became visible. There, emblazoned on the hull in stark black and silver, was the insignia he had hoped never to see in person. The crossed swords and stars of Earth's elite forces, Special Space Operations Division. Ghost Squadron, Jaiho whispered, his voice trembling. The name wasn't spoken often in pirate circles, but when it was always in hushed, fearful tones. They were the boogeymen of space, the ones sent in when normal military forces weren't enough. Commander He-Jin's voice came through again, carrying a hint of satisfaction. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. And in case you're wondering, yes, we've been tracking your activities for months. The Shadow Claw's reign of terror ends today. The military vessel's transformation continued. What had appeared to be cargo holds were now revealed as missile bays. Sensor arrays emerged from hidden compartments, and the ship's entire profile changed from that of a lumbering merchant to a sleek predator. All hands, prepare to be boarded, Taiwan announced, his voice hollow. He knew the stories. No one escaped Ghost Squadron once they had you in their sights. Through the view screen, they watched as armored figures emerged from the military vessel. Their space suits were nothing like standard military gear. These were advanced combat units, each one worth more than most pirate ships. They moved with incredible precision, using minimal bursts from their thrusters to maintain perfect formation. Look at how they move, Du Yun observed from his sensor station. That's not regular military training. Those are the elite of the elite. The boarding teams approached in waves, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance. Some headed for the Shadow Claw's airlocks, while others secured the support vessels. The pirates could only watch, their own systems completely under Ghost Squadron's control. Commander He-Jin's voice returned, this time with an edge of steel. Captain Taiwan, you will order your crew to offer no resistance. My teams are authorized to use whatever force they deem necessary. Do not test them. Taiwan looked around his bridge, at the faces of his crew, some frightened, some resigned, all realizing how completely they had been outmaneuvered. What they had thought would be an easy raid had turned into their worst nightmare. This is just the beginning, He-Jin continued. The Ghost Squadron's mission is to eliminate piracy in this sector. Your capture will serve as a message to others who might follow in your footsteps. The first airlock cycled, and the sound of boots on metal echoed through the ship. The boarding team moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons held ready but not threatening. They didn't need to threaten. Their reputation and capability spoke for themselves. Taiwan watched as his bridge crew was systematically secured, their hands bound with advanced restraints that seemed to appear from nowhere. The elite forces operators moved like shadows, silent and efficient, each motion calculated and precise. Welcome aboard the GSV Nighthawk. He-Jin's voice came one final time, now tinged with what might have been amusement. I trust you'll find our accommodation secure, if not comfortable. You have quite a lot to answer for, Captain Taiwan. As he was led away from his bridge, Taiwan caught one final glimpse of the transformed military vessel through the view screen. What had appeared to be easy prey had revealed itself as the ultimate predator, and he had led his crew right into its jaws. The legend of Ghost Squadron, he realized, was about to grow even larger, and the Shadow Claw would be just another chapter in their story. The Nighthawk danced through space with fluid precision as Lieutenant Suho lined up his shot. His fingers hovered over the weapon's controls, eyes fixed on the targeting display. Years of elite training had prepared him for moments exactly like this. Target locked, Suho reported calmly. Waiting for your command. Commander Heijin nodded from her captain's chair. Show them why we're Ghost Squadron. Disable their engines. Clean shot, no collateral damage. The Nighthawk's advanced targeting system painted a perfect three-dimensional image of the Shadow Claw's engine housing. Suho's display highlighted the exact weak point where a precision strike would cripple the pirate vessel without risking its destruction. Firing solution calculated, Suho announced. The weapon charged silently, building to exactly the right power level. Too much would destroy the engine completely. Too little would let the pirates escape. It had to be perfect. The shot, when it came, was almost beautiful. A pulse of concentrated energy lanced out from the Nighthawk's forward weapon port, crossing the space between the ships in a fraction of a second. It struck the Shadow Claw's engine housing exactly where intended, burning through the outer plating with surgical precision. Ghost Squadron never misses, Heijin announced calmly over the comms, allowing herself a small smile as the pirate ship's engines sputtered and died. On the bridge of the Nighthawk, the crew worked with practiced efficiency. Each person knew their role perfectly, moving like parts of a well-oiled machine. They had trained countless hours for operations exactly like this one. Target vessel's power output dropping to emergency levels, reported the sensor officer. Their weapons are offline. Engines are completely disabled. They're not going anywhere. Suho maintained his focus on the weapons station, ready for any desperate last-minute attempts by the pirates to fight back. But the shot had been perfect. The Shadow Claw hung dead in space, its mighty engines reduced to useless metal. Begin Phase 2, Heijin ordered. The Nighthawk's hull shifted again, weapon ports repositioning to cover every possible angle of escape. Even if the pirates managed to restore some power, they would find themselves facing an array of weapons that could end their existence in seconds. Boarding teams in position, came the report from the tactical officer. All airlocks secured. We have full control of their external systems. Through the view screen, they could see the shock and fear on the faces of the pirate crew. The tables had turned so completely, so suddenly, that many of them seemed unable to process what had happened. Their mighty raider, terror of the shipping lanes, had been reduced to a helpless target by a single perfect shot. Signal the support teams, Heijin commanded. I want every piece of data from their computers, every raid, every victim, every credit they've stolen. This isn't just about capturing pirates. It's about justice for their victims. The Nighthawk maintained its position, its advanced systems keeping it perfectly stable in space. From its current angle, it had clear shots at both the Shadow Claw and its support vessels. The pirates had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Message from the boarding teams, Suho reported. They've secured the bridge. Captain Ta-1 and his officers are in custody. No resistance offered. Heijin stood from her chair, surveying the scene before her. The operation had gone exactly as planned. Better, even. Not a single shot fired in return, not a single life lost. This was why Ghost Squadron was legendary. They didn't just win fights, they prevented them from happening. Begin full systems download, she ordered. I want everything. Flight logs, communication records, financial transactions. The Shadow Claw's reign of terror ends today, but its data will help us track down every other pirate group in this sector. The Nighthawk's crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. They had turned the tables so completely that the pirates never had a chance to fight back. This was what Ghost Squadron did best, not just winning battles, but winning them so decisively that fighting became pointless. As Heijin watched the boarding teams secure the last of the pirates, she allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Another successful operation, another step toward making space safer for honest merchants and travelers. The legend of Ghost Squadron would grow a little larger today, and somewhere out there, other pirates would hear this story and think twice about their chosen profession. Jiho sat in his restraints aboard the Shadow Claw's bridge, watching as Ghost Squadron's elite operators moved through the ship with practiced precision. His mind kept returning to the stories he'd heard, tales that had once seemed like mere spacer legends. "It's them," he whispered to his fellow crew members, "the ones who took down the Crimson Fleet." The name alone made several pirates flinch. The Crimson Fleet had been the most powerful pirate organization in 3 sectors, until one day they simply vanished. Now, Jai-Ho knew what had happened to them. Aboard the Nighthawk's bridge, Kyung-mi coordinated the ongoing operation with calm efficiency. Her fingers danced across the tactical display, directing teams of operators through the captured vessel. Every movement was calculated, every position covered. "Team 3, proceed to engineering deck," she ordered. "Team 2, maintain position at the primary junction. Be advised, internal scans show potential hidden compartments in sections 5 and 7. The Ghost Squadron operators moved like shadows through the Shadow Claw's corridors. Their advanced combat suits made them seem almost supernatural, silent, precise, unstoppable. Each team reported in with perfect timing, securing section after section of the massive pirate vessel. "Remember the stories about the Crimson Fleet?" one of the bound pirates whispered. 3 capital ships, dozens of raiders, over 200 crew, all taken in a single night. Nobody ever knew how they did it. Do Yun maintained his position at the tactical station, monitoring every aspect of the operation. His sensors tracked not just the movement of their teams, but also the subtle energy signatures that might indicate hidden weapons or escape pods. Picking up some interesting data from their computer core, Du Yun reported to Commander He-jin. "Looks like they have connections to at least 3 other major pirate groups. This could be bigger than we thought." The captured pirates watched in awe as more Ghost Squadron members emerged from their ship. Each one moved with the same deadly grace, their actions synchronized as if they shared a single mind. Their reputation wasn't just about their advanced technology or their perfect record. It was about the way they operated, like a force of nature more than a military unit. "I heard they never lose a target," another pirate muttered. "Once Ghost Squadron marks you, that's it. You're already caught. You just don't know it yet." Kyung-mi's tactical display showed the operation progressing exactly as planned. Every team was in position, every system under control. The Shadow Claw, once a feared pirate vessel, was now just another trophy in Ghost Squadron's impressive collection. "Commander," Kyung-mi reported, "we've located their hidden weapons cache. Looks like military-grade hardware. This explains how they've been overwhelming merchant ship defenses." The revelation added another layer to the Shadow Claw's crimes, and another reason why Ghost Squadron had been sent to deal with them. Stolen military weapons in the hands of pirates was exactly the kind of threat they were designed to eliminate. "They say Ghost Squadron never fails," Jai-Ho continued, almost to himself now. "Never leaves a target uncaught. Never loses a member. They're not just soldiers, they're something else entirely." The efficiency of the operation proved every rumor true. Within hours, the Shadow Claw was completely secured. Every hidden compartment had been found, every secret revealed. The pirates' reign of terror was over, ended by the very unit they had dismissed as space lane mythology. "Final sweep complete," Kyung-mi announced. "All sections secured. Prisoner transfer can begin whenever you're ready, Commander." He-jin nodded, satisfied with the operation's progress. Another successful mission, another piece of evidence that Ghost Squadron's reputation was well earned. They hadn't just captured the Shadow Claw. They had done it so perfectly that not a single shot had been fired in resistance. The pirates would be processed, their stolen goods returned, their victims compensated. But more importantly, the legend would grow. Other pirates would hear about how the mighty Shadow Claw had fallen, adding to Ghost Squadron's mystique. In the end, that reputation was as valuable as any weapon. The knowledge that somewhere out there, elite operators were watching, waiting, ready to strike with unstoppable precision. As the last of the arrest reports came in, He-jin allowed herself a small smile. Today's operation would be another chapter in Ghost Squadron's growing legend, another story for pirates to whisper about in dark spaceports. And somewhere out there, other criminals would hear the tale and think twice about their chosen path. The long line of captured pirates shuffled through the Nighthawk's pristine corridors, their restraints gleaming under the bright lights. Captain Tadwan walked at the front, his head bowed, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. Behind him, his once feared crew moved in silence, escorted by Ghost Squadron's operators. Commander He-jin stood on an observation deck, watching the procession with quiet satisfaction. The mighty Shadow Claw's crew, reduced to prisoners by a single perfect operation. Lieutenant Suho worked at his station nearby, compiling the final mission report. "Send word to command," He-jin instructed, turning to Suho. "Tell them Operation Honeypot was a success. Full capture of target vessel and crew, minimal resistance, 0 casualties. Include the data about their military-grade weapons cache." Suho nodded, his fingers moving across the console. "Adding details about their connection to the other pirate groups we identified. Command will be particularly interested in those leads." The brig doors opened automatically as the prisoners approached. The facility was state-of-the-art, like everything else aboard the Nighthawk. Each cell was designed to hold even the most resourceful escapist. Not that anyone had ever managed to break out of a Ghost Squadron brig. "You know what the best part is?" one of the operators said to his colleague as they secured the prisoners. "These guys will talk. Pirates always do, once they realize they're facing serious prison time, and every word they say leads us to another target." He-jin moved to the brig's observation room, studying the faces of the captured crew. Some looked angry, others frightened, but most simply looked defeated. They had learned the hard way that their reputation meant nothing against Ghost Squadron's capabilities. "Final prisoner count?" she asked over the comm. 47 in total," came the response. "All accounted for, all secured. Medical team is standing by for standard checks." Taiwan looked up as He-jin approached his cell. The once proud pirate captain seemed to have aged years in the past few hours. "You set us up," he said quietly. "That merchant ship routine. It was perfect. It was meant to be." He-jin replied. "We studied every raid you've ever conducted. Knew exactly what kind of target would draw you in. You did exactly what we expected. Exactly what you've always done." The news would spread quickly through the space lanes. The Shadow Claw's capture would be discussed in every port, every tavern, every ship's mess hall. It would become another chapter in Ghost Squadron's growing legend. "Processing teams have begun cataloging the stolen goods," Suho reported. "Looks like we can return most of it to the original owners. The manifest database is intact." He-jin nodded with satisfaction. This wasn't just about catching pirates. It was about justice, about making things right. Every credit returned, every stolen item recovered, would help heal the wounds these raiders had inflicted. "You know what happens now?" she asked Taiwan. "Your ship will be stripped down, studied, and eventually recycled. Your crew will face trial for their crimes. But most importantly, your capture will send a message." "What message?" Taiwan asked, though he already knew the answer. "That human ships are not to be underestimated. That behind every seemingly helpless merchant vessel might be something far more dangerous. That the days of easy prey in these sectors are over." The operation had been perfectly executed from start to finish. The trap had been set. The target had taken the bait, and Ghost Squadron had proven once again why they were the elite of the elite. "Prepare for jump to base," He-jin ordered as she left the brig. "And make sure our guests are comfortable. They have a lot of questions to answer when we get there." The Nighthawk's engines hummed to life, preparing for the return journey. Behind them, tractor beams held the captured Shadow Claw, now just another trophy in Ghost Squadron's impressive collection. The tale would spread through the stars, growing with each retelling. How the mighty Shadow Claw had been outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and captured without firing a single shot. how Ghost Squadron had turned the hunters into the hunted, and most importantly, how human ingenuity and skill had once again proven superior to brute force and intimidation.